Elly De La Cruz over the weekend, right away, again, spring training. By the way, if he would have struck out every at bat, we'd overreact to that and say, is Elly going to have it? Last year we thought he'd have that sophomore slump last year. We're going to overreact to strikeouts in spring training this season, right? But no, he does the complete opposite. Doesn't just make contact. He just blasts the ball out of the ballpark. 2 home runs in his first spring training game, and it got everybody talking. I saw so many people on social media rushing to their whatever sports book that they use to place an early futures bet on Elly winning, National League MVP this upcoming season. So I use ESPN Bet. I just went ahead and took a look. There are 5 players who have better odds of winning the MVP out of the National League than Elly De La Cruz. So there's 2 different ways to look at that. Man, Elly De La Cruz has the 6th best odds to win MVP out of the National League this upcoming season. Or, man, there's still 5 players that are significantly better than Elly De La Cruz that have better odds. Could you guys want to throw out a guess of who the players are that are ahead of Elly De La Cruz, at least according to ESPN Bet?
Love my chances with taking Shohei.
Yeah, that was cheating because I was also going to take him.
One.
I'll take Mookie second.
So Shohei is number 1. Mookie is up there, but he's not number 2.
Okay.
Is he top 5?
He's got to be above Elly.
He's got to be Elly, right?
Yeah, he's
Okay.
above Elly. Juan Soto comes in at number 2.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I forgot he was in the National League now.
Bryce Harper?
No Bryce Harper.
Healthy
Okay.
There is
Acuna.
no. Well, Elly and him have the same
Okay.
odds.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So technically, they're right there, neck and neck.
Kyle Tucker? Yeah.
Kyle Tucker. All right.
What about one of the Padres?
Yeah, probably.
Tatis or Machado?
Yeah, Tatis or Machado.
Yes. Tatis is right up there as well. So the top 5, the guys who have the 5 best odds of winning MVP, better than Elly. Shohei comes in at 1 at plus 145, plus 550 is Juan Soto, plus 900 for Fernando Tatis Jr. and then Mookie Betts and Kyle Tucker are 3, 4, and 5.
All right,
it's a good list to be in.
List.
I mean,
that's a good list. That's a good list.
I think he can be in the mix.
Here's why I don't. So if Shohei Ohtani, I think he's the favorite to win it, obviously. I think we talked about this last year. I mean, he's won multiple MVPs with different teams. He won his first World Series last year. I think for Shohei to win it this year again, I do wonder if it's not going to be Shohei fatigue. I wonder if there's going to be a Dodgers fatigue. I think a lot of people deep down, they're not angry at the Dodgers because they're doing what we all want our teams to do. But I think a lot of people don't really respect what the Dodgers are doing to a certain extent as well. Do you guys think that the bias against the Dodgers could work against Shohei Ohtani? The only way I see him winning it again this year is because he's going to pitch this year. The plan is for him to pitch this year, right? If he puts up top 10, top 5 pitching numbers in baseball along with his offensive production from last year, I don't see how he can't win it. But if he doesn't pitch as well as what he has in years past, and it's just his typical elite offensive production, I don't know if he wins it again this upcoming season. I wonder if the fact that he is a Dodger works against him, as wild as that sounds. I really like Elly's chances because I think it's a lot of these MVP awards are storyline driven. And I think that if the Reds live up to the hype, if the Reds are competing for the division, if the Reds win the division and the Reds make the playoffs, and the Reds are one of the better feel-good stories in baseball, and Elly is the face of that, the way he was the face of the Reds last year, I could see the voter fatigue for Shohei and the Dodgers play an impact in that, and I could see the new shiny toy being Elly De La Cruz and the Reds and their success and possibly winning the division, possibly making the playoffs. If those things happen, and those things have to happen for it to happen, I think we could be talking about Elly De La Cruz truly competing with Shohei Ohtani to win MVP this upcoming season.
Yeah, certainly I think there is voter fatigue. There's voter fatigue in every sports league. You saw it with LeBron James. You saw it in the NFL, right? You see it across all leagues. Every single league. Lamar Jackson has a little bit of voter fatigue this year. Every single league has that in some way or the other. The only thing is Shohei Ohtani, if he plays 2 positions like you said, and if he's pretty good at both of them, he's going to win the MVP just because he has to. You know, he's one of the best players. If he has a sub-3 ERA and he hits 290 with 40 home runs, like the guy is going to win the MVP and it won't be close. And it borderline should be unanimous. You know, if he is somewhat struggling pitching-wise, I'd imagine at some point they would just shut him down because there wouldn't be risk. There wouldn't be a need to risk injury. I'd imagine some point late in the season, if he has like a 4-something ERA, they'd shut him down at least for the remainder of the regular season, which would play a part into this. I think Elly De La Cruz is a benefactor of the Terry Francona. These are an up and coming roster if they make the playoffs. So there are stories for Elly De La Cruz to benefit from, opposed to Shohei Ohtani, who's supposed to be that good, right? You are right about that. I just think that Shohei is so good that I can't sit here and say that Ellie's going to be in that conversation, neck and neck with him. All right, I think he'll be top 5, 100%. I think he finished 8th in MVP votes last year. He finished behind, Ketel Marte, Marcelo Zuna, William Contreras. I think he's better than those 3 guys right there. So I think Ellie's going to be there. I just don't know if he's going to be, in the same exact ballpark as Shohei.
I've said for a while with the Elly MVP discussion, we just got to hope Shohei gets out of the National League, and obviously now that's not going to happen with the Dodgers deal. So I think it's going to be tough. I don't think voter fatigue is going to come into play this year, strictly because we didn't see him pitch last year. I think Ellie's MVP comes after we see two-way Shohei for a couple of years in a row.
Yeah.
And that, because I think that's what happened over the last few years. The year Shohei hasn't won MVP, it's because, he went 30-30 with a 3-5 3 years in a row. I mean, who cares? When, if you said that someone was going to do that before we met Shohei Ohtani, you'd say you should win MVP every year. So I think if Shohei's back on the bump and stays healthy next year, he's going to win it with ease. I think Elly will absolutely be top 5. Like you said, I just don't see a way someone can beat Shohei Ohtani in the MVP race if he's healthy and he pitches all year long.
Yeah.
And this goes back to that, and it's a lot of similar talking points for every MVP discussion. Obviously, I think Shohei Ohtani is a super valuable player to any team that he is on. But when you look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, you can't convince me that his value to the Dodgers is as high as what Elly De La Cruz is to the Reds. I think Shohei can miss 2 months of this upcoming season, and I don't think the Dodgers miss a beat. You take Elly off the Reds for 2 months, and I don't think this is even close to being competitive. I don't think this team is even coming close to accomplishing the goals that they've set out for this upcoming season. Like, if Shohei's just on a regular team with some talent stacked around him, fine. But because the Dodgers are so loaded, do you guys think that works against him? Do you think that devalues Shohei Ohtani because of all the super talent that's around him, to where Elly De La Cruz has talented guys around him, don't get me wrong, but you take him off that Reds roster for a significant amount of time, this team's not winning at the level that we expect them to. Shohei can miss time for the Dodgers. I don't know if that team takes a major step back in his absence, and that's the debate about the MVP. How valuable are you then at that point if your absence doesn't truly debilitate your team? Elly off the Reds debilitates them. Shohei off the Dodgers, it's not convenient, it's not ideal, but I don't think it debilitates the Dodgers' chances of being able to win that division and be the favorites to still win the World Series.
I think you're right, and I think it would definitely play more into it if all things were equal. If Shohei's just a batter and we're comparing, 2 40-40 seasons or whatever else, and then I think absolutely that comes into play. Who's more valuable to their team? I can't get over the hump of a guy going 40-40 with a 3-5 or whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's such a big gap there once you throw in the fact that he's not just pitching. He's a top 15, 10 pitcher in baseball. So, I think it's a very, very hard hill to climb if he's healthy and doing both at a high level.
It's no knock on Elly De La Cruz.
No, not at all.
That you're not in the same conversation as MVP with a guy who does both things.
No one is in the same conversation as him, either league. So it's definitely not a slight at Elly.
Kyle Tucker being on there ahead of Elly. I mean, is this a biased thing on my end? I mean, is that surprising? Of all the names that are ahead of him, is that the most shocking name that's ahead of Elly in the MVP odds in February?
I mean, I think so, right? I mean, this stuff to me, it's like spring training. It's like talking about spring training. Like, it doesn't matter to me. If you want to bet on any of those guys ahead of Elly, it's pretty bad value, I'd argue, no matter what. So go ahead and do it. I just know Shohei Ohtani is the odds-on favorite by a wide margin, and the rest, like every single player after that, all in the same boat. But yeah, I mean, is he the one that I guess would make the least amount of sense to be ahead of Elly? Sure, I guess in that case, yes.
But last 3 healthy seasons for Kyle Tucker, over 5.5 WAR, top 20 MVP finish. So that might just be a consistency thing for him, where we've only seen it once from Elly.
Yeah.
Well, and I guess the reason I bring this up too is because Kyle Tucker going to the Cubs was such a big deal. But I don't think, I mean, if that's the case, if you're adding a guy, and again, these are just MVP odds, don't get me wrong, but like the Cubs added an MVP player to their roster, an MVP caliber player to their roster. I feel like the Cubs don't get enough play for that if that's the case. I mean, if you go out and you add a player that is top 5 odds to win MVP, that's the kind of respect that that player gets. That's the kind of value that player brings to the table. You just brought it up. Like, I kind of feel like the Cubs didn't get enough play for that. I mean, that's a hell of an addition if that's the case. I mean, adding a Kyle Tucker, which I'm not saying we didn't give him the love for it, but at the same time, if you're adding a player that is viewed as top 5 MVP odds, that's a hell of an addition by the Cubs. And I just don't feel like they got enough pub for that move at the end of the day.
I think the reason why it's downplayed a little bit is because there's such a little expectation that they're going to extend him.
100%.
That it is just a 1-year rental in most people outside of Chicago's mind, inside of Chicago's mind. Most people realize that Kyle Tucker would require a contract bigger than any contract the Cubs have ever given out. So the fact that alone, I think, kind of downplayed it. But, yeah, top 5 in MVP, like you just said. He's one of the best outfielders in all of baseball, one of the best players in all of baseball. So it was a huge addition for the Cubs. I think it's what cemented them in most people's mind as the number 1 team in the Central, and they continued to make additions around him. The Cubs are in a good spot, and that really started with Kyle Tucker. But I think the conversation about how important he is and what it means for Chicago and the rest of the National League Central as we look into the future, that conversation can't start yet because we don't have a reasonable belief that he's going to be in Chicago for the long term.
Yeah, I think the Cubs are good. I mean, the Cubs are a good team this year. They're, I mean, definitely the favorite to win the NL Central. I don't think it's particularly close. I think it'll probably be, in September, a 5.5 game lead for the Cubs heading into that month. And can somebody fight back into it? Maybe. I think the Reds are going to be serviceable and competitive all year long. So, if healthy. But you're right, Justin. I mean, they haven't gotten a ton of publicity for getting to Kyle Tucker, and he's a very good player.